Boom. We are live. It's probably not your first time watching this, but if it is, you know we have a little bit of routine going on where I did not write the tweet yet for the show. So I'm going to do that right now, so just hang on one second. Please enjoy the sound of the birds in my carport before I send this tweet. You can hear kids and people outside. So lovely. Okay, now I gotta get the link. I have to go to my own YouTube channel. Oh, there's people here. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. People that are already here. I have to just pull the link for my own show. You're probably gonna hear my voice for 1 second. Very unprofessional. But that's how we do it here. That's how we do it. We don't have the polished veneer of these corporate accounts. We don't have that. We do it all. It's all real. We're all real people, real human beings, just living day to day. I'm just going to get the image to post in the tweet, and then I'll be in the chat hanging out, and we can do this thing. I have a folder called website stuff, and that became the folder where I keep all the things. Oh, we got 30-year-old boomer on the lawnmower outside. Oh, it's just a beautiful sonic landscape. I'm honestly not even joking. I really love the suburban sonic landscape. Okay, I'm not even going to check the tweet for typos. I'm just going to send it. We're going all cylinders live, baby. All right, what's up, guys? What's up, everyone? Everyone's here. Okay, let me move some windows around, and we'll do this thing. I'm amped. We didn't do it last week, so I'm pent up. I have pent up broadcasting energy. So I normally have the windows. Oh, I normally have the dark screen YouTube open. There we go. It's so much more aesthetic. All right. Let's, if the audio's quiet, I'm kind of far away from the mic just because I'm on the computer, but now I'll be like normal distance from the mic. I can turn it up a little bit though. Let's see. Volume. Boom. All right. Nice. Got a bunch of people here. Cool. So we'll hang for a second, just let people come in. Normally, I say normally every week. I guess if I say it every week, it's not normal then. But normally we try and start, 5-10 minutes early, let people come in. So we'll just hang for a sec. I got some cool stuff going on here. I guess we'll do the pre-show right now. I'll just tell you guys a few things I have going on. I do have kind of a cool announcement going on. You would think it wouldn't change much for you. I try and not Facebook post via my online operations, tell you the minutia of my day-to-day life. But yesterday, I got approved to obtain a new domicile. So I'm going to move. I'm actually going to move from my little setup that I got here, which means the studio is moving, which is relevant to you because the studio is about to get a lot bigger and a lot cooler. Right now, you've never seen the studio that I'm in right now. I would never rob you of the privilege of imagining what kind of land I inhabit beyond this little rectangle and beyond the images that you see that come from the studio. I posted a picture online of the hut with the skull on top. That's basically what the house looks like that I'm in right now. But I'm going to move, and the studio is going to get a lot bigger. The room that I'm going to have as a studio is going to be huge. And most interestingly, the house that I'm moving to has this concrete basement. The basement is like this just concrete room. And I don't know how you put a drain in concrete. I've never owned a house before, but I'm going to get a draining something set up in there. Sometimes when it rains, some water gets in there. That's the only problem with the house. The point though is that I think I can use that room to do some down and dirty art stuff because I've been a little constrained, not too constrained. I kind of just do whatever I want. But I'm in this room right now, and it has carpet. It's horrible, honestly. I'll reveal in the last weeks of of this room. It's not horrible. I mean, it feels nice on my feet, but it means if I spill anything, it's like kind of a disaster. So I'm kind of excited because it means that I'll be able to do a little bit more wild stuff going on. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. I picked up, I don't know if I ever showed it on here, but I picked up some supplies, like muslin, that's like another cloth that you can use as a canvas, and sandpaper and these tools to make these like scroll paintings. But I never did it here because I was worried about like polluting the space too much. But now I'm going to have a backyard and this basement and like a new studio space. So it should be pretty cool, man. It should be pretty cool. So that's basically my announcement. I'm sure you're just so excited. Maybe you are. Maybe you are. You guys are all probably nice people. Maybe you are excited. Anyway, so that's been crazy for me, and it's been kind of delaying my situation. I always joke that like my jobs in life, like generally my jobs have taken the format of the way you get jobs in like Grand Theft Auto games, where you're walking around and a payphone rings and you pick up the payphone and it says come meet me here, and you go meet someone there. It's kind of how all my employment and like life has generally unfolded up until this point, and this has really been no different. So like I've been trying to be in the studio working, then my phone rings and the realtor calls me. He's like, we gotta meet. I literally met this dude. It's kind of aesthetic actually. Literally met this dude in like a Hardee's parking lot, in like this fast food parking lot, and it's super windy, and he's giving me these papers, and I'm signing these papers, and the wind's blowing the papers, and the papers blew around the parking lot, so I'm running behind this big sign, and the sign says, what does it say? It says like char-broiled thick burger, and I'm running behind this sign on the side of this busy road to get these papers from this realtor. And today I had to go do it again. I had to go meet him in the same parking lot again because it's another town, so he doesn't have an office here. And I'm sitting on my porch. It's not really a porch. It's a little concrete stoop. I'm tying my shoes. And I'm lacing my shoes up. And the phone rings, and I put the phone on speaker. I got my dog there, too. And the guy's like, hey, Owen, I'm coming. I'm going to be a minute late. I'm behind this truck that's carrying all this hay. So I'm going to be late to meet you in this Hardee's parking lot. And I was like, wow, in this moment, I've just ascended to a new level of aesthetic cohesion. Lacing up my shoes with my dog, and the realtor who's meeting me in this fast food parking lot on the side of a busy road is going to be late because he's behind a truck that's carrying, a few 100 pounds of hay, and he can't physically get to me any faster. So I just thought you'd like to know. It's the little thing, the little aesthetic moments that we have in the Lord's creation. We have to cherish those. Anyway, I got some cool stuff here. We're 7:06, so I'll show you guys some stuff for a minute or two, and then we'll just get going on the show. I have this piece of cardboard here. I have the paper underneath, but I saw this cardboard, and I really love working on cardboard, so maybe we'll do that tonight. I don't really know what we're going to do, honestly. I mean, I'm going to take suggestions from you guys. I kind of want to just wing it, though, and then next week we'll jump back into, like, orchestrated, planned out stuff a little bit more. But I also got these tools over here. Some things I don't normally break out. Maybe we'll use them, maybe we won't, actually. I have no idea. Otherwise, book stuff. I posted this on Twitter. I got this book. It's called National Sunday Law. And I picked this up. It's super thin. And I thought, sorry if you just saw this on Twitter, but I got some other stuff I haven't shown on Twitter. But, I'm going to talk about this for a second. I saw this book and I was like, oh, I wonder if this is Seventh-day Adventist. Because I've really been in like an 1800s kind of headspace. I also like to use the pre-show so you guys know like what's going on in my mind before we do the picture. Because usually the contents of your head kind of spill out when you make a picture, especially if you're winging it a little bit. I've been in really like an 1800s kind of headspace, I guess, like going through the 1800s stuff and, seeing, just poking into that whole folder of like 1800s stuff in general. Most in America, Christianity, obviously, that's always the underlying vibe. So I saw this book and I thought, oh, this must be Seventh-day Adventist, maybe, National Sunday Law. Because what I thought was interesting when I was going through some Seventh-day Adventist stuff, I think I'm going to kick into like some weirdo American Christian stuff in case you haven't been watching the show. I mentioned that a few times. They had this really big thing about the idea of like a national Sunday law. And in America back in the day, some places still have this. They have laws about like what you can and can't do on Sunday. And apparently in some places they had laws that said you straight up could not work on Sunday, which is significant for the Seventh-day Adventists because they have Saturday as their day instead of Sunday. So there were some of them that were like going to jail because they would be running their printing press on Sunday. And their big thing of like, wow, like this is like the apocalypse, like this is literally like the end of the world, like it's gonna not, I'm kind of making fun of them a little bit, but there's an inter-Christian camaraderie, but I am making fun of them a little bit in a friendly way. Like, oh my God, this is it, like this is the end of the world, like this is the apocalypse, because they thought America was gonna enact this like national Sunday law and they would become this like oppressed group under the thumb of this Christian government enforcing Sunday as a day of rest. So I was listening to it and I was like, man, honestly, not that it's not legitimate, But I'm jealous that was the big concern, that this like Christian government would enact Sunday as a national day of rest. I was like, wow, yeah, let me into that world where that's like the big major concern. And I opened this up and I noticed some names that I recognized. Like E.G. White must be Ellen White. There's this guy named Uriah Smith. So this guy is citing some Seventh-day Adventist stuff. Kind of an interesting note, but it's just interesting because, you know, if you're online in the Christian sphere, part of that is, you know, different Christian denominations and groups, you know, interacting with each other, and their like presuppositions and axiomatic parts of their worldview, you know, bumping into each other. And it's kind of interesting because the whole Seventh-day Adventist thing, I don't think I told this particular anecdote, was like, yeah, if you go in the Bible, I actually haven't looked into this yet, so I have really no opinion. I kind of do want to look into it, but I have no opinion as of right now. Where they said, you know, if you go into the Bible, Saturday is the day. They never, in the Bible, it doesn't say it makes Sunday the day of worship and we should go to church on Sunday. It's supposed to be Saturday. You know, the Bible didn't change it. And they built this whole idea up that, like, really the Pope is the one who made Sunday the day of rest. So when you go to church on Sunday and take the Sunday, you're kind of like worshiping the Pope in this secondary way. So they were going to American Protestants being like, you know, if you're Protestant, why are you going to church on Sunday? It really should be Saturday. And it's funny because there's a little trolling going on where eventually this Catholic group released this, I guess, press release, whatever a press release was in the 1800s. They released this thing that was like, yeah, you're right, actually. You're right. In the Bible, it doesn't say to go to church on Sunday. You know why everyone goes to church on Sunday? Because of the Catholic Church. They were Catholic. So they're like, yeah, that's totally why. So if you guys want to be philosophically consistent, tell us why you're going to church on Sunday. Kind of being like, yeah, you are doing what the church tells you to do, even though you think you're not. Which I thought was really funny. A little bit of like 1800s. 1800s press trolling. There's not a big immediate payoff when you have to troll via newspapers. You have to just send your article out and you got to wait. I found this book. I have no idea what this is, but I thought it was cool because the author's name is Zion Prepper. It's the Prepper's Handbook. Don't panic. Just prepare. And I had to get it because the guy's name is Zion Prepper. I mean, does it get better than that? It was like $1. I'll probably never read this, but maybe I will. Maybe I will. Lights go out. I want to start late. And one more last little funny anecdote, then I'll pull the trigger. It's 7:11 p.m. right now. But I had one other kind of funny situation here because I have this book, which is a really cool book. I really like it a lot. It's all about UFOs and it kind of gathers a lot of like interesting data you don't really see elsewhere. Like, you know, times of year people see at UFOs and things you wouldn't really think of necessarily. I mean, personally, like I've been poking around weird stuff for a while, but I never thought, oh, do people see more UFOs like in the spring or the fall? You know, you don't really think about things like that, but it has a lot of data gathered on stuff like that. But I thought it was just kind of funny, another just little aesthetic anecdote because I was in line at Chipotle. My wife likes going there when we're out. We can't eat like a lot of stuff because we're weirdos about what we eat, obviously. So we happen to go there because you can really easily find the ingredients to their food. This is not a plug for Chipotle. And I was in line and I was checking out and I was holding both of these books. And the guy at the register commented about the books I was holding. And I was like, wow, this is oddly like such a cohesive picture. Just a man, a very strange man checking out, carrying these two books together. And I was like, you know, I was trying to explain. I was like, yeah, I'm really into like weird stuff, but explaining the Venn diagram overlap that's happening here is probably something that only you would understand if you're here watching the show right now. So I just thought that was humorous. And anyway, that's enough about me. It's enough about my life. Enough about mundane affairs. It's time for the show. This is the catchphrase for season 3. It says season 2, but it's season 3. Let's do it. right. It's time. I'm going to adjust the camera really quick, so if you're watching with an Oculus Rift, I make that joke so much, I wonder if anyone ever has opted to watch the show via Oculus Rift. How's it going, everybody? We're back. We were gone for a second, just 1 week, but now we're back. Things I should say at the start of the show. Intro music, Painted Worlds, painting show. Band's called Painting Worlds. Check it out. Spotify, Bandcamp. I don't get paid for that, but he's a cool guy. And his music's actually really good. Anyway, how's it going, everyone? So in case you have never been here for last week of the month show, basically the deal is often, not every time, but often, I have something planned, but at the end of the month, I like to just leave it kind of a free-for-all, and we often do chat source symbology, where I look at the chat and take suggestions there from you for images or themes to put into the picture. That involves you telling me things. So that means that if you want to start thinking of things now, you can, and if you want me to notice what you're saying in the chat, I will not see it unless you put at Owen Cyclops. You can see, for example, Tyler Prime, and before him, someone named John Fiber. Both those guys put at Owen Cyclops. It's red on my screen, so I see it. If you don't do that, I'm not going to see it. So there you go. And if we get to talking about something and I miss something you said, you know, you can say it again. I'm not going to see it and be like, oh my God, that guy already said that. Banned. Anyway, so that could be anything. Sometimes people are like a bear. Sometimes people have like themes or anything. I also got some symbolism books here we can jump into. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. We'll see how it goes down. I also brought out some atypical tools a little bit. We've been doing the atypical paint set with the CMYK paints here. That's been kind of interesting. It's been nice mixing it up. I've been using the same palette for like 10 years, and that means I'm really good with it and I know exactly what's going to happen, but everything in art is a double-edged sword, so knowing exactly what's going to happen with your tools means that you know what's going to happen, but it means there's less variability. So maybe we'll use those, maybe we'll use these, but I got some other things going on here. You might have seen me use these before if you've been watching the show, for the whole time I've been doing it. These are these like hyper-concentrated watercolors. They're actually called radiant watercolors. You can see this bottle's partially empty. But you can see it really is like crazy, hyper-concentrated, extreme color. The thing about these is that they're not light fast. Light fast is actually a word that we may have not used on the show before. But if you're working with art materials, light fast means that it will not fade in the light. So if I make paintings like with the paint that I usually use, you can hang it on the wall 50 years from now. It's going to be totally fine. You're good. It's light fast. With these, if I made an image with one of these, eventually it actually will fade in the light, partially because it's dye. Dye always fades faster than pigment because this is just like the juice of the fruit, whereas the pigment is like the actual fruit kind of cut up. You can think of it that way. You can actually see here on some of these, I made little labels back in the day that indicated what color it is, and it's totally blank now. So after, I've had these for like 10 years, honestly. I've had them for a crazy long time, but most of them have totally faded. You can't see anything on this one. Can't really see anything on, you can kind of see this one. It's a picture of a key. I use the pictures instead of words because I'm just that guy. But yeah, they fade anyway. And this is something else I wanted to break out. I thought maybe we'd do a whole show on one of these. I don't know if we will, I don't know if we won't, but this is a really, really cool art tool. If you're getting into doing art and, eventually maybe you hit a wall and you're like, I want something that's kind of weird and different. This is a really, really good example of a cool, weird, atypical art tool. This is called a graphite stick, and it's literally just a giant stick of graphite. So what's in a pencil? You sharpen a pencil, the graphite comes to a point. Obviously, you're probably familiar with that process. But this is kind of cool because it's made so you can do kind of like really big, loose stuff with it. And it's just really nice and satisfying holding this thing in your hand. I guess it's made for like really large pictures. That's normally how I think of it. But what's kind of nice about it, like I'm already kind of getting into it right now, is that it really forces you to not have that kind of crazy, precious mark that you get with the pencil. It's almost like, it's really soft too. I can feel it taking on the shape of the paper already. On that side that I'm using, I can feel it starting to become flat already. So it's almost kind of like, I always use the sort of sniper rifle, like flamethrower analogy, right? It kind of forces you to just lean into the shadow shapes and things like that. We can actually kind of make a whole picture just with this thing right here. Get a little mouth in here. You gotta kind of get a little darker in here. Maybe come over here. I don't know, should I get into this right now? I can't tell. It's actually kind of looking pretty cool already. But I use this. I used to use this a lot for like larger pictures. And it's kind of nice. You can see, get different tones over here. Cool. I thought we might use this. I don't know. It's kind of cool, right? And this is something you see a lot. People do figure drawing. Figure drawing is like a really cool thing to do, where you go draw like people. They're often naked in like a room with a ton of lamps. But it's actually pretty trad, honestly. It's one of the more trad art things you can do. But you can see here, this already kind of looks like a person. We can actually take this like pretty far if we wanted to. Maybe we'll do something like this. Maybe we won't. I'm actually kind of getting into it though. I didn't really anticipate that. So maybe we'll use something like this. I thought it would be cool to use this with the watercolors, because I really don't know how the watercolors would look on top of it, honestly. I have no idea. Just gonna get this guy's face going on over here. This is actually too light over here. We'd want to just darken this up a little bit. Get a little bit of the light in here. And it'd be a little darker too here under his chin. Anyway, maybe we'll use something like this. I can't tell. And I also, last little variable before we jump in, is we got the cardboard versus the paper. We've talked about cardboard a little bit, but even if you go to a museum, if you see art by like some of the Impressionists, someone like Toulouse-Lautrec is a perfect example. He was this like, I don't know if he actually was a, what's the appropriate term that won't get me in trouble on YouTube? If he actually was a dwarf? If he actually was a, are you allowed to say the word midget? If he actually was a little person, I have no idea. Or if he had like a broken leg or something. He was like this short dude. He's like a super alcoholic that would actually pay his bar tab and like paintings and things like that. He was an Impressionist painter though. He was actually a really, really good painter. And he worked on cardboard sometimes. Lots of artists around that time period. If I had to guess when Toulouse-Lautrec was, I have no idea. Late 1800s. Worked on cardboard because it's really perfect surface. It's funny because with paint and painting, and especially fine art, you think of expensive materials. Like you go to a fancy store and you're ordering like Belgian linen canvas with these huge weaves, and it feels like a sweater, and you paint on it. Or you're getting like expensive Japanese rice paper or something like that, imported from across the world, and then you go and cut out the back of a cereal box, and it actually, that's not what I did here, but that actually is a really good surface to paint on. So I don't know if we'll use this or not. I think we will. I got to make the call now because we're going to start the show. I think we'll start with this, and if we don't really like it, we can jump into something else. And for black lines and stuff, I got the Sumi ink. I'm feeling maybe something bold, black. I'm not really sure how I want to play it, but I guess we'll find out together right now. And if I look in the chat in 1 second and there's no suggestions, I'm just going to open up the book. I kind of feel like maybe we should start with a random pullout from the books over here. So I think that's what we're going to do. I got Book of Symbols. It's pretty classic for the show, but I also have a dictionary of Bible types. And we haven't done enough Bible stuff recently. So let's jump in here to the Bible types. Last question before we jump in. Someone said, what makes cardboard a good surface to paint on? That's a really good question. I guess I didn't actually say. Part of it is the color. This like tone is really good. It has this like warm tone. This is really what you want. Every time I paint on the show, pretty much every time I've used white paper. You actually don't want white paper though, because it's almost like in music, white is supposed to be like the highest, like most intense. This is like the highest, most intense, pure value that you have. So if you think about it, it's almost like I'm making music into a room where people are already like blasting like the flute or something. It's kind of a stupid metaphor, but it's like you already have something going on here that's really, really loud and intense. Your mind probably, if someone in the audience hasn't done a lot of art before, you're like, oh, it's white, it's blank, right? It's not really how it works. This is actually like one of the most powerful, intense colors, white. If you imagine like, painting like a bowl of fruit or something and you put a slab of white paint on it, that's going to sing out and be like crazy intense, right? Or just look around the room that you're in. Look around the room that you're in right now. Is anything in the room that you're in totally, actually pure white like this? Probably not. And if it is, it's probably a light bulb or something. So you actually don't want to work with this. Because yeah, actually, it's a pretty good example. If you look around the room that you're in right now, painting that, literally what you're seeing around you, onto a white page like this, you're starting at the top value where it's totally pure white. You're going to have to bring everything down. And everything's relative, so as you bring certain things down and bring other things down, now this thing that seemed super low before is rising up, and you're working with all these weird levels. It's really, really not ideal. I would never do like a still life painting like on white unless I was using watercolor, where you kind of have to. This is actually a lot better. Again, look around the room or that you're in right now. You can probably imagine painting onto a surface like this makes it a little easier. It's like a medium value, so you can take some light things and some dark things, and they're already kind of in that relative space. But also it's an interesting texture. You can see even there's this dot right here and like little scratches, and like the texture's not totally flat, so it's already kind of interesting. To again use the music metaphor, I really like the music art metaphor. If you ever listen to like a really lo-fi album or something where it's recorded on tape, or even like digital, you know, like lo-fi beats and stuff, like beat makers will put like a fake cassette texture on the background, or like a vinyl texture, just because it kind of gives it this nice texture underneath. That's exactly what this is like. You don't really want to be working on like, again, boom, totally stark white. Even this has that texture. I use the watercolor texture. You can hear my hand on the paper. It has a nice texture. So that's kind of the perfect analogy as to why. This is already an interesting surface, so then you already have a plus. You already have the deck kind of stacked in your favor a little bit. Someone said medieval executioner. I was going to jump into the dictionary of Bible types, but that's pretty cool. And I actually was feeling making someone wearing like a hood, because I was thinking about the black. The black makes me think of like hooded people and things like that. So maybe we'll just do that. Maybe we'll just do that. We'll jump into the dictionary of Bible types at some point. And I have this very aesthetic set up right here, but I'm just going to quickly move these colors over here, because what I realized is that my surface here is very warped, and I'm going to put this liquid Sumi ink down, and I don't want it to just flow everywhere and spill everywhere. Actually, I should get a little dish for this, but I'm not going to. Maybe I'll regret that, but I'm not going to. And in terms of material variability, I actually don't know how the ink is going to handle on the cardboard, so we're just gonna go for it. We got a lot of variables here, but I think that's part of what makes it interesting. Grabbing some paper towels over here, and I'm going to take the suggestion of medieval executioner. I'm going to take that. I'm going to curate it a little bit, and maybe we'll just kind of start with a guy in a hood. It used to be really a staple of my art, honestly. I was in Tuscany one time. I was there for a little bit. It makes me sound really wealthy, but I'm not. I was living in like a really crappy apartment, but I happened to be there. And I have a sketchbook from that time, actually. It's right over there on the shelf. I could pull it out. But in my sketchbook is just all these people in hoods. I was really into shadow shapes at the time. In case you don't know what that means, this sketch I did before is actually a perfect illustration of shadow shapes, you know, the shapes that shadows make on stuff. That's like a drawing principle. I have a comic about it on my site. I was really into shadow shapes, and all these Renaissance paintings have these people in hoods, and, you know, Virgin Mary in hoods, and people wearing these hoods, and you can see their faces like lit up under the hoods, like maybe just the tip of their nose or the area underneath their eyes, like catching the light. And it was so awesome. So I have this sketchbook just full of like people in hoods. I think I used that theme in my art for a little while after. So you said medieval executioner. I was already thinking of someone in a hood. Let's just kind of go for it. Let's see, I'm going to calibrate myself a little bit. So I have up to here, down to here. All right, cool. And I have to decide if I want them up at the top or down at the bottom or in the middle maybe. I don't want them too low. We'll leave a little bit of room to maybe put something over his head if we want, because that's kind of a, you know, cool area to get some visual information. So we'll kind of just put it right here. I'm just going to throw down the hood shape. Perfect. There's something very like medieval and oddly like, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Maybe like spiritual in a way, about someone wearing just like a big hood. I was working on this project before. I don't want to say exactly what it is, but it's this sort of like Catholic thing. And I drew a row of these guys in hoods, and it looked so awesome. You can see this kind of dry brush texture that I'm getting here. I have to make a little bit of a call if I want that or not. I can't really tell right now, but since it's something interesting, I'm just going to roll with it. Just so you know what's going on in my head. Let's throw down this kind of hood shape here. And I kind of do like that interesting sort of line thing. Anything interesting that happens if we're doing one of these, you know, sort of winging it pictures, we'll just kind of roll with it, because we can always undo it. Okay. So it's a little bit, I don't want to say cartoony, but it's a very like graphic shape. So I'm going to come in, and maybe we're going to get a little bit of that shadow shape situation going on. We'll throw this in black down here. Yeah, nice. What would be really tight is with the black and the brown, we can get some white. We can take some white paint and actually get the white paint going on here. I have to make a little bit of a call here if I want to throw in the shadow shape or not. I think I do. I mean, how could I not? I just talked about it so much. So what we're going to do is, this is like the top of his cheek. It's like the light is coming from the top, but the light is obscured by the top of his hood. So it's like that. And we'll throw in, usually the light gets catches just under someone's eye if they're like this. It's funny because when you start doing stuff like this, you start to notice these things in real life. So, you know, you'll be at some social gathering, you know, and people will step outside and you're saying goodbye to someone, or they're, you know, rolling out for the night and you're looking at them and you're like, man, I'm really not even listening to what you're saying, honestly. I'm just noticing the shadow shapes like on your face. It happens all the time. I'm just going to throw this in black up here. Boom. Let's see how we did with that. The nice thing about working on a color like this, and then again with the white and stuff, is if it doesn't look good, we can always come back in with the white. So I can come in and put like a white shine in their eye or something if I want to, depending on what kind of direction we take here. Starting with the hooded figure. It's pretty cool. Let's come in with the black here like this. I saw someone ask me when I started painting in the chat. It was a really long time ago. I was probably like 12 or 13 when I first got into art. But I didn't get seriously into it for a long time. I was into more like punky, kind of like graffiti and stuff like that. And damn, that actually, the top lid looks pretty good. I thought it would look bad, so I didn't do it over here, but it actually looks pretty good. But now I think I kind of crossed the Rubicon. I don't think I can come in and put it over here, but we'll see. It's a little thick anyway. And yeah, actually what happened is, I've told the story before, but I was really into that kind of art and I realized I couldn't really draw like technical things and crazy things. So I started learning how to realistically draw so I could get better at certain graffiti things, and then I just never went back to it. I got like totally sucked into like drawing fruit and stuff like that. That was pretty cool. That was pretty cool actually. See, the problem here, we got to throw down a little bit of like a nose thing going on. I hate doing the mouth in this style. And we're going to have to throw down a little bit of a line so it doesn't look like Hitler. I'm just going to be totally honest with you guys right now. So it's got to happen. Come down a little bit over here in the cheeks. That means we got to come around over this way. I used to draw the cheekbones really, really high on people for some reason. I'm not sure why. We'll leave the mouth open. I mean, I don't know. It could be kind of like, we could kind of get something interesting going on there. Throw a little black shadow there too. Cool. I'm not going to leave this nothing, but we could do something more interesting than just like the straight mouth necessarily. Okay. And we'll keep the medieval executioner theme in our back pocket, but we're going to keep moving right now. Let's see. This board reflects light differently than paper, so I'm actually going to move the light a little bit. Cool. It's funny, it's so diffuse. It's kind of nice, actually. Buffalo symbolism. A buffalo. Buffalo's tight. I don't know if I know what a buffalo really looks like, but let's do it. And that'll kind of give me the option of, oh, you know what we can do? You know what we can do? We're just going to put the head. We'll just put the head here and get the horns going on. That's perfect, actually. Should I make it the skull of the buffalo? Then it's kind of like a Satan-y thing, I guess. But that's good, because then it could be like, you know, anti-Satan artwork, as usual. Let's do it. Let's use the animal skull with the horns. So then we already maybe have kind of like a balance of like good and evil or something going on. I'm not going to lie, I have no idea what a buffalo skull looks like, so I'm just going to wing it a little bit. I always have a really interesting kind of back and forth when I think about using animal symbolism for evil stuff, because it really is so traditional. I mean, that's probably like the most traditional thing. I got to make the skull a lot shorter, so it's not really going to look like a buffalo skull, so everyone's going to have to just deal with that. It's pretty traditional to have like weird and dark animals, you know, especially horned ones like representing Satan, right? But at the same time, it's like God actually made those animals, so they're not really evil. I haven't really totally reconciled that in my artwork. You know, I stopped using like the owl and stuff like that as like an evil symbol because of that exact reason I just described. But at the same time, if I take out all the natural symbolism, what can I even represent then? You know what I mean? It's like hindering myself so much. I want to lean into a little bit of this shadowy form that we rarely use. So I'm just going to see. I thought I'd be going a lot kind of harder and looser. That always happens right on the show. So I'm just going to start. There we go. That looks good. Throw in these big eyes. Yeah, that's perfect. And then the skull looks kind of tight if you get the cracks going on. Someone asked me about like desert stuff in the chat. I didn't actually read the whole question. But when I think of the desert skulls and everything, they like have these cracks going on. And now that we have this like black and brown setup, whatever we introduce as color, it's going to change the game up a lot. It's going to change the game up quite a bit. And I think I can get some interesting texture here if I just kind of come in with this fat brushwork. Yeah, that's good. We are going to throw in some color. We're not just going to roll straight black and white the whole time. There we go. Nice. That's pretty cool. Okay. Okay, we definitely have sort of a vibe going on right now. Maybe we can kind of play with that, like, nature, it's not evil, but it looks evil thing. We talked about him being an executioner, so it could be kind of interesting. Easter symbols, maybe an egg. Yeah, egg is tight, and egg will also let us get some color in, so let's do that right now. I'm going to grab the white. Let's do it. We'll throw down some... Oh, this is black? Yo, I just played myself so hard. Why did I think it was white? Yeah, we'll throw in the egg. We'll get in some color. And for this one, you know, what often happens when we are kind of building it together is we get like, you know, it's like, what's the word I'm looking for? Just like, here's a symbol, here's a symbol, here's a symbol, and they're not really like integrated. And then the background is just kind of arbitrarily thrown on at the end. So I want to avoid that as much as possible. So maybe we'll throw in some background-y stuff right now. And I'm really feeling like some kind of halo or something around this dude. And I think that that'll let us kick into whatever the color scheme is going to be. I'm getting the paint off here. An egg is perfect. Rebirth, life, such things. Let's do it. Cool. And I'm going to throw down the egg. I wonder if the white's going to go totally opaque or not on the cardboard. I actually have no idea. So let's see, where can we start? That's the top. Wow. Perfect. Perfect. I feel like I go to the egg a lot as a symbol in artwork just because you can tell what it is just from the shape of it. You know, this is just a white oval, but if I round out the top a little bit, I'm cool with it being pretty obviously an egg. Could have gone with a brown egg or something. Maybe I will. And same deal. I kind of have to decide if I like that. You can see the cardboard through it, or if I don't like it. I think I do like it. It's a little interesting. Gives it kind of a weird flavor. I'm going to throw in a light bit of halo behind the sky. I'm going to get out of the CMYK colors because what I really want is lemon yellow and white. I want to know exactly what color I'm getting just because I really like the brown a lot in the background, and with the CMYK yellow, I don't know exactly how it's going to handle, but I know exactly what's going to happen if I take the lemon yellow, which is already a very transparent color. That's another thing about getting to know the pigments. You get to know which ones are transparent and which ones aren't. I'll hit it with this white over here because I want this kind of like light, you know? I want this luminous yellow. In fact, it's already too dark. Light, obviously. You know, it's funny. As you get more and more into symbolism, you think that you're going to get... This happened to me over a few years. You think you're going to get more cracked out on like the crazy stuff, but actually what happens is that more and more seemingly like innocuous things take on like a deeper theological symbolism. And for me, light is like one of those things. You know, like you think you're going to find like, oh, this cool, deep, hidden symbol, but really it's just something that's like right in front of you. Whenever I use light in my images, I'm always thinking about some kind of like theological energy or something. Oh, it's dry. Oh, it's dry. I always have to worry about putting my hand down. And I'm going to make this halo pretty big. I'm not going to make it like a full halo. Maybe it is just like a literal light behind him. And I want it to be really thick at the bottom in terms of transparency. And then let's see what the wash even does on here. This is also interesting because along with that light-dark metaphor, I mean, that's like the primary like theological metaphor, right? It's like literally how many parts of the Bible start with the light and dark. It's interesting that we're on the brown neutral space. So I have the dark and the light right at the get-go. Like I was saying before, when we start with the white, everything's white. So you're not thinking of the light as like an active quality. But here it actually literally is something that I'm painting in. It's kind of cool. And I'm going to try and do these like tiers of transparency. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Let's see. And again, I'm kind of leaning into the dry brush because I think it'll give me a little bit of a cool texture. Yeah, there we go. Looks cool. The thing is that darkness that you're seeing is actually water, and the water is going to evaporate, so it's a little bit difficult for us to say how it'll actually look at the end, but I guess we'll find out. Okay, cool. Man, that looks sick already. This looks tight. And that gives us a little room to maybe get something on the left and right of this guy. I actually really like how this is coming out already. Okay, eggs. You could put a floating golden cross between the horns, like St. Hubert. Yeah, it's a really tight suggestion, actually, dude. I know that symbol from Saint... Dude, I always forget his name. It's St. Eustace. I know that symbol from St. Eustace, but there is another saint. I think St. Hubert's like the later guy, and St. Eustace is the Roman one. But yeah, we are going to do that. In case people don't know, that's where the Jack Daniels logo comes from. That's just, you could say unfortunately, it's not so bad, I guess. I don't drink, but that deer with the cross in his horns, that's a symbol from St. Eustace and St. Hubert that he's talking about. I actually illustrated it for this children's book project thing that I never completed. It's been like going on for like literally like so many years. You know, I have gold paint here. I have gold paint. Should we just go for it? I mean, I have no idea how it's gonna look on camera and stuff, but let's just let's go for it. Why not? Never used the gold. Wow, it's really not the color that I expected. Do you see that? I thought it would be way more orange. I'll bring it up. It might be too hard though. I've had this paint for like a crazy long time. Man, it's a crazy color. I could cut this open on the show right now, but then we got to really go hard on the gold. But I also have this gold. This is a totally different color gold. That is the color I was expecting. You see how different that is? You know, actually, the thing is, though, I kind of like this gold a lot more. This is way better, isn't it? Look at that. See the difference? Oh, I opened it a little bit. I don't know. Can we make this work? Can we make this gold work? I mean, we can make anything work. I mean, we make it happen. But this one just looks so tight. Let's see. Bust this out a little bit. Looks pretty good on there. But now that I've seen this gold, I feel like I have to use it. I feel like I gotta get my hands on that. We did this once on the show before, but this is a little secret. These painting tubes, you can open them from the bottom. I think you can do this with your toothpaste also. But you can open these from the bottom. Because I can feel in here, I can feel that the paint in here is wet, but the paint at the top is dry. So I'm going to open this from the bottom. I might have to cut this. So I'm going to grab a razor blade. Oh, no, cool. I'm tearing it actually. So I'm just going to tear the bottom of this tube off. Most people have never seen someone do that. Not that it's a huge deal, but just got to hype it up a little bit. And let's see, can we get the paint out of the back? We're going backwards through the toothpaste tube. I'm just going to tear this open right now. Cool. Looks pretty cool. Let's see, is it liquid enough in here for us to use? It might not even be liquid enough for us to use. It's pretty cool though, man. Alright, let's see if we can use it. It's really dry and like flaky, but it looks awesome. Check it out. Let's see. It looks so cool on the palette. I guess I got to use a special brush for the gold. Just because whatever brush I use, it's going to be loaded up with gold, obviously. I'll just use this one. I'll just use a random one. Let's see how this goes. Halo Looks like wings almost. Wings might work well with the egg. Yeah, we could put some wings in there. That would be pretty cool. I guess we gotta decide if we want to bail on the idea of him as like an executioner or not. Okay, so let's see if we can get this gold situation to work. I'm just getting the paint off this brush because I have no idea. I have no idea how this is gonna go. It might be too hard. Let's see. I want to touch it. It kind of is too hard. Let's see, maybe we can use that to our advantage. Maybe we'll get like a pale layer of gold or something. That might look kind of cool. I worked with a Tibetan painter who would just use straight up gold in his paintings. It was pretty awesome. I actually think about that whenever I use gold paint, even though I'm sure this isn't like real gold. Okay, let's see. Can I just come in here? This brush really isn't as sharp as it should be for what I'm about to do, but I think it's okay. Huh, looks pretty good. Nice. Cool. It actually worked. It actually worked. I kind of like that little imperfection at the bottom. Let's do it. Looks pretty good. I never used gold on the show because I was never sure how it would read on the camera. It kind of just looks like light paint that is gold colored, but we'll take it. That thin crossbar looks good. I should probably leave it like that, but I'm not going to. Cool. Okay, that looks tight. I'm looking at the screen, so I'm seeing what you're seeing. It almost just looks like white, but it is gold. At least we know. Then the question is how I want to portray it as luminous. If I was smart, I would have put down a little bit of white behind it already, but I didn't. So now I got to figure out what I'm going to do. I think I can just maybe like we did here with the layer of the what's the word that I'm looking for? The layer of the yellow. Maybe we can do that with the gold. I don't actually know how this is going to work, but let's just see. If I just come in here and just kind of get like the dusting of it. What's crazy is, it actually looks really good. Nice. Okay, we're gonna roll with that. I knew this woman. She was actually this like Dutch woman. I didn't know her. I'm kind of hyping it up too much, but I was around her, and she studied Tibetan painting. She like really was actually like a practitioner of like Tibetan painting, and she said when they do the gold stuff, I was sitting at this table with her, and she's like, there were a bunch of people there. It wasn't just me. And she's like, yeah, when we use the gold, you know, you're hearing me off camera dip the paint in the water, you know. They had a special water jar just for the gold, and she's like, you know, it's too precious to waste. You're not supposed to waste the gold. And she picks up the glass that had the gold flecks in it and just drank it right there. It was so hardcore. It was actually really awesome. And she was like, yeah, it's good for you. It's just gold. It's one of my first like health red pills. I was like, is consuming gold good for you? Maybe. Maybe it is. Okay, let's kind of leave this for a second. What I suspect that we'll do is whatever colors we get going on elsewhere, we can kind of fan out from the gold a little bit. Maybe if I move the light too, you can see it actually is like shiny, unlike the rest of the picture. It actually is like shiny gold. Anyway, okay, what's up next? Floating golden cross between the horns like St. Hubert. Boom. Do you have a Telegram? Being banned from Twitter has decreased my intake of your visual spiritual uplifting. Yeah, I do have a Telegram. I'm going to start posting everything that I do there. I do have one. I think it's just Owen Cyclops or at Owen Broadcast, but let me know if you can't find it. The halo looks like wings almost. Wings might work. All right, the only other suggestion here is wings, so we're going to throw in some wings. And then if there's no more suggestions, I'm going to open up to a random page in the book. Okay, so the wing situation, this space would be perfect for wings, but I don't want to give him wings, you know, then that's kind of like he has wings, and then it's like a whole, what is he, like an angel then, but he's wearing this hoodie, you know, it's kind of a whole thing. So I'm not going to put them on him. I'm going to put them on the egg, and I'm going to use the wings as a chance to give us another layer of color. I'm really feeling the warm color thing. I'm thinking about using the cadmium orange right now because it's such a bright clear orange. Cadmium yellow is a contender. This color would be tight for the wings. But I'm really thinking that if we do the orange, then we're going to have a little bit of a color scheme going on where we have the brown. We'll have the browns and yellows and warm colors, and then the black and white. I think that's actually a pretty solid color scheme. I'm thinking about other colors like green and blue and stuff, but I don't know. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, this is going to be too much of a game changer. So we want to kind of go subtly. We're going to proceed slowly. So I'm going to use this cadmium yellow. Boom. Perfect. And I'm going to throw down the wings. It's like the preeminent divine symbol, right? We used a lot of wings on last week's painting. One of the symbols someone suggests, I'll pull it up in the book that I have here, but we talk about wings all the time. The quote that I always think about is that wings are symbolic of being on a divine mission. Look, see how thick this brush is? It doesn't come to a point. It comes to like just a fat end. And I'm really wondering if I should be using it or not. But let's try it. Perfect. It's perfect. I didn't want it to fit exactly in the halo. Let me move this over here. And I'm just going to come in with the feathers here. There's a few different styles of wings that I do, but in this space, I mostly just want to make sure that they read as wings. So I'm kind of keeping it simple right here. And I like getting that last little like feather poking out. Yeah, nice. Perfect. Yeah, it looks good. Actually, I could probably beef some of this up. Boom, just a little bit of those lines there. I could come in and put a little pattern on the wing. It's a little bit dicey. I kind of like the weird, almost like minimalist vibe that we have going on right now. So we'll see how I want to pack out the details as we go along. And now I got to do the other thing on the other side. The same thing on the other side. If it doesn't exactly match, perfect. It's not a big deal. We can roll with it however it is. Come back in here. Perfect. Recently it was the Feast of the Annunciation, right? And I was thinking about all my favorite Annunciation images. But I didn't post them because I was too busy finding a place to live. Ugh. Life cutting into posting. Truly a fallen world moment. But I was thinking about the Annunciation images. We were in the car and my wife turns to me and she's like, "It's the Annunciation today." And I said, "Yeah." And she's like, "That's one of my favorite things." Yeah. Yeah. Me too. That makes her sound dumb. I'm actually the dumb one. I'm like, yeah, totally, yeah. Okay, anyway. We got the wings going on. Maybe we'll put some eyes on the wings. Let's see. I'm feeling out the vibe, you know? You can see just another little meta creative note. Usually I can get the train going. Boom, we're going 90 miles an hour. We know where the tracks are there. They've been laid for years. Boom, we can go. But it's also interesting to feel out, you know, almost like you're cooking and you're like, oh, do we want to add the spices that we always use? Do we want to maybe have a different like flavor profile? That's what I'm thinking right now. Halo looks like wings. Yeah, we did that one. Red or purple cloak, perhaps. Gold trimming on top color might be good for detail. Yeah. That's interesting. Do we want to throw in a little color on the cloak? You know, I kind of do want to do that. I'm feeling like the natural way the space is working is that it would be better picture-wise to start at the top and get the fade coming out. But I feel like it would look better if I started dark down here and faded up. Can't really tell how to play that one, honestly. I feel like it would be better if we started at the bottom and worked our way up. So let's do it. I'm going to grab, you said red or purple, but I'm going to use something that's right in between. This color called alizarin crimson. Let's see if we can get sort of like a light fade going on here. Crimson is such a good color. Sometimes I feel like this is my favorite color. When people used to ask me what my favorite color was, I said it was wine color, but then I stopped drinking wine, and I feel like I had to change it. Sounds like a stand-up routine, but that's actually what happened. But I really do like this dark red color. You know, it has a connotation of like blood and things like that, but it's also a little Clerical. This isn't really the color that cardinals wear, but has that feeling a little bit. And let's see. I'm just going to come in. Maybe we'll just have the brush strokes on the outside. Let's see. Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Cool. I know in the book of Revelation it talks about like red and purple. I don't think it talks about red and purple robes, but it has something like that. Eventually we'll do like a whole series on that. Obviously that's something that's very up my alley. And same deal here. It's looking so dark because of the water. So I actually don't know exactly how it'll look when it dries, but I want it to be like pretty faint. I'm used to the paper. On the watercolor paper, I can wet the paper and then come in with the pigment on top of that. But here I'm on the cardboard, so I'm kind of, you know about as much as what's going to happen as I do. So let's see. And I'm trying to pick up just the lightest amount of pigment over here with my brush, because I don't want it to even be like that red. I can always come back and make it darker. There's no way for me to come in and make it lighter. So it might dry and you might not even be able to see it. Perfect. And yeah, something about the robes. Like I was saying, I don't know if I finished this little anecdote, but I was working on something. And I put all these guys in robes holding candles in a row. And it's just such a vibe. It's so like, oh yeah, we're doing that right now. Let's see, I think I can go a little bit darker on the outside. Alizarin Crimson is already a very translucent color. There we go. Perfect. And the red does open us up to some blood symbolism if we want to take it there. Not like evil blood, but like the positive manifestations of that. This looks pretty sick. So you can see it's drying. You can't even see it. I was too cautious. So I'm just going to come in. Be a little bolder. Perfect. Cool. I always think of red as like the first color. I know there's no basis for that. I guess that's kind of subjective, but I always feel like when God invented colors, red really must have been like the first one, right? I mean, come on, it's obviously the first color. So it has like a special primacy in my mind. Come up in here with the red. We'll go one more. We'll do one more pass, and then we'll let it dry and see how it looks. I could have put like a robe in the background. I was actually drawing some robes today for the same project, but I didn't think that was the move. Boom. Okay. Let's see how that looks. If that all dries and it's not red enough, then we'll come back up and perfect. Looks pretty cool, honestly, but it's going to dry way lighter. In case anyone's like, oh my god, it's so dark. Don't worry. It's going to dry way lighter than that. And if it doesn't, we'll come back and darken the top. It's actually funny because, just again, like a little meta-creative note, I was kind of married to having the robe the same color as the background and the face, but now that it's dark, you can see it actually pushes the face out way harder. And yeah, let's see. You mentioned golden accents on the robe. Let's see if we want to do that. We'll see what kind of... I just don't know what level of detail we want to use, but I'm going to keep that in my back pocket. Executioner thing going on. Okay. There's nothing else tagged with me in it, so I'm going to consult the book. Dun, 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 bang. Let's see if anything interesting jumps out in here. More suggestions, I'll take them, but there's no more suggestions right now, so... We saw in the book, Bible types. In case people don't know, types, like typology, basically is things in the Old Testament that foreshadow the New Testament. It's kind of an oversimplification, but it's a painting show, so that's what you're going to get right now. Let's see what's interesting in here. Fool. Fool is interesting. It's more of like a theme than a symbol. One of my favorite themes, though. Fly, flowers, garment, garlic. Anything jumping out to me in here? Greyhound. That's sick. Wow, a dog or something would be really tight. I feel like I always use that, though. I got a lot of dog projects going on right now. Honey. That's really interesting also. Where are we trying to take it right now? Lamp. Lamp is tight. Really like the honey thing. Let's do that. And then when I look up, there better be more suggestions. If there's not, I'm going to freaking lose it. No, I'm just kidding. It's not a big deal. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to use the honey as like a way to escalate the color scheme. I think that's why I like that idea. This is kind of honey color to me, this raw sienna. It's pretty good. And I'm liking the darkness. Normally everything is so blown out. Normally I'm so obsessed with trying to make everything, like I said, like blown out in terms of the colors. Let's throw in a little bit of this honey and then we'll see how we want to work it with the robe. Let's see if we want to come back in or what. Oh yeah, someone said empty tomb. That's interesting. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. People got Easter on their brain. That's good. You should have that. Yeah, it's really tight. The house that I'm moving to is literally like surrounded by churches. It's so auspicious. I was driving around like counting all the churches like within a few blocks of my house. So epic. I'm just gonna come in. I'm gonna get, if I put in like one drop over here, I'm gonna get something to balance it out on the other side. So we'll find out what that is. I'm just gonna come in and put this in. Just like a big honey-shaped drop. Perfect. Perfect. Honey is actually pretty difficult to paint because it's almost characterized by its like translucency. But we'll see. We'll see how we do it here. Nice. Honey is one of my favorite scriptural symbols also. I think my favorite quote from the Bible is probably the full soul loathes a honeycomb, but to the hungry soul every bitter thing is sweet. It's really cool, like loathes a honeycomb. It's like a powerful symbol. So we want to get over here. So we're already getting kind of like a structure also going on. We got this kind of like shape going on. So eventually we're going to have to decide if we want to lean into that and keep it like packed in the shape, or if we're going to branch out somehow or what. Oh yeah, someone said milk. Milk and honey. Yo, that's actually really tight. Let's do that. We're definitely going to do that. Because that'll let me get the white over here. That's perfect. And we'll think about empty tomb. Maybe like a door, maybe like an empty door or something is how we'll represent that. And then if you get the milk and honey, obviously you're super Old Testament. It's actually kind of interesting because milk and honey, right, has a connotation of like promised land, you know? But then that has like a literal dimension, but then it also has like a spiritual dimension, you know? Like I mean, I'm not talking about scripturally, I'm just talking like symbolically, like, you know, casually. You know, like promised land, like, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be like a physical place. Okay. Come in here. Oh, perfect. Cool. Let's get that white. We need to make it more white. It's going to kind of fade into the yellow, so if we need to like beef it up down there, we can as we go along. When I used to do art that I didn't care about in my old apartment, I actually had white out on the desk because it's like the most white. It's just like perfect. It's almost better than like some white paint. Okay, we'll come back and like beef that up a little bit. But I already kind of like this balance going on that we have. I might make the honey drop a little smaller, or maybe we'll get, what I think is that we'll get something behind them. That would be perfect. Like if we had some long item, you know, like an arrow, could be an arrow or something, could be anything, but something like poking through in the background would be solid. Okay, someone said empty tomb. Right. Okay, let's, how do we want to get that going? We got the cross. I guess that's going to be the decider if we want to start to activate these zones down here. I think we should. We have so much space. And this is one time that we're not like in a rush, like covering so much stuff. So let's do it. So it would be cool. We can get kind of like the empty door. Whenever I draw the empty tomb, I always have like the door and then like the big stone off to the side. It's funny because, again, for a project I was doing, I drew the door and I made the door for the empty tomb a big circle, you know, like someone rolled the stone away. And then I was like, does it say what shape the door is? And I was like looking in the Gospels, and I was looking in like Renaissance paintings, and they're all big circular stones. And I was like, I guess one guy just did it, and then that just stuck because none of it says that it's a circular door that I found. It's probably just a good optics, probably just a good look. Okay, so let's do it, and then naturally it's going to kind of force me to address how that's going to integrate with everything else, but I'm kind of just going to not think about it. just going to go for it. And then also naturally, that's going to create a situation where it's empty tomb. Yeah, see, this is also something interesting. A little meta-creative note for pictures. But people read pictures the same way that you read a page of writing. And that actually transcends different cultures, even if they read things differently. So you look at a book and a page in a book, and you start here and you're reading it. So you're reading this image from here to here to here to here, and you end down here. This is the last thing. So even if it's a static picture, it still has like a narrative form. So if we put the empty tomb here, then whatever we put here is like what comes after it, Or if we put it here, then whatever we put here is like what comes before it. So it's kind of an interesting choice. Like, do we want that to be like the last thing? Or, I feel actually kind of safer narrative-wise putting it as the last thing. I mean, what's gonna come after that? I mean, you can't really beat that. So we're gonna go here. And just since I made a little note of it transculturally, it's interesting because from what I understand, in some East Asian cultures, their writing is vertical, right? So they still start here and they still end here, but then the second thing is here. So if you look at some Japanese images, it's kind of interesting, like Japanese woodblock prints. I don't know if it's Japanese or Korean. I'm a little bit out of my element right now, but you have to keep that in mind when you're like looking at their images, because you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, but then in this other culture it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. Kind of an interesting note, but we're gonna throw it down over here. And I always also, like I said, I depicted the tomb, and like I kind of, like to stay in my lane and like make sure I'm doing things appropriately. But I couldn't really find too much information on what it would have looked like, so I kind of just went with the Renaissance convention. I figure, whatever the Renaissance artists did had to be okay, at least a little bit. So we're just going to throw it down right here. So a little freestanding little building. It would have been smart if I gave myself a little room to put the line coming out from underneath the buffalo, but I didn't. So now I kind of got to decide if I want to integrate it. Like, I could come up with a shape here, but I don't know. I think we'll kind of just roll with it. And then the empty tomb. So we kind of want to make it so we can see in there. And same deal with the door and stuff. I'm going to put the door on this side so that the last thing you see is like into that empty doorway. I'm going to make it kind of big so it reads well. Boom. It's got the empty door. Put the bottom of the tomb over here. And we could go with let's go with a rectangle door. A few of the painters used the big rectangular slab. I feel like that must be more accurate. There's no way they were carving 9-foot perfect circular stones to go in front of everyone's tomb. I just don't think that's realistic. Put the door right here. Man, it's so clutch with the birds. I hope the new studio has birds. Perfect. Got the door. Let's see, I kind of want to make it dark in there, but it's not exactly the move. One of the best representations I saw, it's like you could see in, and then I think in one of the Gospels it says that, I really should know this actually, I'm a little bit embarrassed that I don't, but one of the women sees like a little angel or something in the tomb, right? There's like a guy, right? Isn't that how it goes? There's like a guy in there. He's wearing like white and he says like, you're looking for Jesus, but he's not here. Kind of embarrassed that I don't know. If that's not the case, I'm going to look like an idiot. But I think that's what it says. But we're not going to do that. But I'm going to put some light in there. I think this is like a good compromise. And I kind of want to put the black. I want to make it dark in there, but it's like, I feel like the black is so thematically strong. The black is like death, it's so serious. So we're not going to do that. I'm going to throw a little light in there, though. Come back in here. Perfect. And we're just going to make it light in there. I'm just going to go with my intuition here. Some of the light going on. Perfect. Or is the guy in the white sitting outside the tomb? Man. This is why painters in the Renaissance worked with a theologian. I don't know if people know that, but like Michelangelo, when he was making the Sistine Chapel, he had like advisors that actually knew what they were talking about. That's why. So they didn't have to wonder about things like that. We'll kind of just get the light going on. We'll leave it a little. Boom. That looks tight. Just like it's like a splattering of light. Not splattering. That's so informal. explosion. That's still too violent, but we'll take it. And just to make it, so we have this little shape right over here. It's not very grounded, right? It's kind of just like floating, right? It's not really ideal. So I'm going to take that cadmium orange I thought about before, and we're going to make a little like scene behind it. Not like a scene with like, things painted too much, but just something that suggests that it's not just like floating in like a weird arbitrary space. And I'm going to throw down, let's just lean into the color scheme a little bit. I'm going to throw down some sunset in the background. Or like sunrise. That's not exactly how it's depicted in scripture, but, it's not like it has to be that particular moment. It's just the empty tomb. Oh, dude, the orange on this black, so good. So good. Get the sunrise kind of coming up out of here. Perfect. Just a little bit. Nice. And I want this same exact light effect. That'll also just kind of like visually marry the different zones together. Cool. Perfect. Pick up some of the pigment. See, again, if it was the paper, I would be able to have it bleed together perfectly. But since I don't know exactly how it's going to handle, I kind of just have to try and wing it, see how it's going to go. So I have no idea how this is going to be when it dries. It's kind of exciting, though. Throw this down here. Perfect. So see how that dried totally differently? That's how this will dry, too. Cool. That's tight. And I'm feeling like I really want to put a palm tree in, honestly, because it sort of like symbolizes paradise. It would really perfectly fill out this space. I'm just going to do it. It's my picture. I can do whatever I want, even though no one suggested it. The question is, do I want to put it in black or red? We're kind of losing the powerful black thing, so I'm going to put it in black. And after this, if there's no more suggestions, again, I'm just going to go off the rails. I'm just going to go rogue. Let's make it a little bit more tilty than I normally do. Perfect. It's like the palm tree's behind it, but it was Palm Sunday a few days ago, right? Palms have a very like particular significance within the whole like theological framework, but also palm trees are just kind of symbolic of paradise in general. Just in general. Actually, I wonder if anyone has a strong take on this, but I was in the car and I was sort of thinking, and I was like, Good Friday, then Saturday, and then Sunday's Easter. Isn't that only 2 days? I was like, isn't it supposed to be 3 days? And I got home and went on this like reading journey of like, oh, it's not actually 3 days, it's on the third day. And I saw something interesting where a bishop said that at the crucifixion on Good Friday, that I think it's on Good Friday. I'm a painter, sorry. I'm still kind of getting the ropes for like the basics. But that it became dark in the afternoon. And he said those are the 3 nights. The first night is the afternoon on Friday when it became dark. And then Friday night, and then Saturday night, and then Sunday you have Easter. I don't know if that's like the conventional explanation, but I thought that was really cool. In a lot of Renaissance images of the crucifixion, they really play up like that darkness and like the eclipse aspect of it. It's really awesome, actually. You'll see like a huge eclipse in the sky, and they'll make it all, harrowing and stuff. It's pretty solid. Okay, this is going really well over here. Okay. Once again, there are no more suggestions in the chat, which means I must consult the dictionary of Bible types. Everyone's chilling. Everyone's relaxing, watching. They said, well, Owen will figure it out. I don't need to suggest anything. Derelicting their duties. No, I'm just kidding. It doesn't really matter. Picture. That's a pretty interesting one. It's very visually detailed. Do we want to take it there? Although, on the other hand, I never use a picture in my artwork. That actually is pretty cool. It fits the kind of like liquid theme going on. Let's see what it says about picture. Picture, Judges 7:16. Probably this represents the personal plans and purposes of a human soul. These must be laid aside or broken in order that the light of God may shine out freely to those around. Selfishness, self-seeking, and greed effectually hide the light of God from others. Ecclesiastes 12:6. It may be that this is a symbol for the heart of an aged person, which at one time beat strong and firm, but now fails in its task. Lamentations 4:2. Israel should have been a golden vial, full of the precious promises of God, and rich in the experiences of God's grace. Instead of that, they are compared to clay, which has little value, is easily broken, and contains nothing of value. Well, I mean, I think we're just going to have to use that then, obviously. We're going to have to use that then. Let's do it. I was thinking about a picture recently because when I was looking up symbols for Lent, a picture came up. I don't think they call it a pitcher. They have a special name for it. But apparently there's like a special water jug, I guess, that you drink from when you're fasting and stuff. I'm not totally sure, but the pitcher came up quite a bit. Here it'll just look good as a vessel, honestly. We kind of already have the like liquid thing going on. Also, we have sort of a weird time frame thing with the skull. Somehow I feel like a pitcher kind of fits that. And I'm going to make it the same height as the tomb over here. Cool. And I'm just going to wing the shape, honestly. I think it'll be fine. But you got to get that big. Perfect. Maybe we'll make it explicitly clay. I like what that said about the clay picture. Maybe we won't. And on the back side, you got to get that handle. Perfect. Boom. Let it kind of bow out a little bit. I guess it's a little bit of a strange shape, but I'm cool with it. As long as it reads as a picture, which that obviously does, I'm cool with it. And I could kind of open up the top a little bit, but I'm not going to do it. I want to get this texture over here. You know, we said it's like a clay pitcher. Just going to get that going on over here. Sometimes on a clay vessel, you can see the ridges, you know. There's usually like a ridge underneath it right there. Perfect. Maybe we'll even suggest a little bit of like shading over here on the picture. That's kind of what we should do. I'm going to get one long. I want to get some dry brush over here too. Boom. Just kind of suggesting like the form of the picture. Perfect. Same thing over here. There we go. Cool. It doesn't fit because I have the light coming from over here, but I kind of just want to put the shadow of the picture in. I'm just going to do it. Put it on the back side. Perfect. Surprised it didn't say anything about the well, you know. Pictures makes me think of wells and things like that. That's good too, though. Let's extend that. Let's extend the kind of sunset situation that we have on both sides. I could have put a well. Honestly, if I thought of a well, I would have done that. A well is such an awesome symbol that I never use anymore. But I used to use it a lot. Perfect. Man, the orange on the cardboard is literally unstoppable. Look at that. Are you serious right now? Dude, just doing art sometimes, just the little like details. We could really literally do a whole picture with just these bright colors on the cardboard and it would look sick. I got this overlap here. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter at all. Okay, so we'll come in and throw this kind of like sunset going on over here. Not that we're almost done, but we're definitely getting in the direction of you know, the flavor that we're going to have at the end. We're not landing the plane yet, but we're, you know, turning in the direction of the final city in which we will arrive. Cool. Perfect. Okay. If there's no more suggestions in the chat, I'm just going to take the reins. I'm just going to go for it. Oh, perfect. Let's kind of assess thematically what's going on here. Are there any more suggestions? No. I read a medieval story about bees building a wax church around a piece of the Eucharist. That's epic. Thank you for sharing that. Okay. So I'm just going to take the reins then. I'm all good with that. Okay, so we got this guy. We talked about him being an executioner, but I don't know, that kind of went by the wayside, unfortunately. I Got the egg with the wings, milk and honey. We definitely have like an Old Testament vibe a little bit, but also we got the New Testament situation going on. I mean, normally when I have someone in my images that is just frankly like nondescript or cloaked in this way, I think of them as like a spiritual seeker. That's like what they kind of like represent. So we have this like spiritual seeker. Milk and honey kind of suggests like paradise. Maybe that's like what he's like looking for. We have the palm tree, so this paradisical thing. Then we have this image of death surmounted by the cross. We have kind of like a cohesive picture going on here. I want to put something over here though. What would balance out this? I mean, I could put another palm tree. That would be kind of cool, but I feel like I'm copping out a little bit if I do that. At the same time, though, what, like a hand, an arm, something like that? I don't know. You know, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a vine. That's actually exactly what we need. A vine is a very, like, underutilized symbol for Christ, if you ask me. Yeah, it's just within my own situation, but never really used the vine. So I'm going to try and get... Perfect. Oh, dude, perfect. So this nice kind of vine coming out of the picture. I'm going to beef it up a little bit. Perfect. And it's going to take a second, but it's worth it because when you get the vine going on, you really got to get... the vine leaves. That's really what makes it solid. And the leaves, you know, I always like symbols that represent like people coming together. Maybe it's because I don't have that in my life. No, I'm just kidding. Kind of. But like spiritual units coming together and creating, you know, the larger like spiritual body, and leaves have that connotation to me. Because, you know, you get hundreds and hundreds of leaves all coming together and they make one organism. It's kind of like how, you know, the sheep come together and form the flock. The people come together and form the church. The seeds of the pomegranate come together and form the pomegranate. How many metaphors for the church can we think of visually that we've used even here on our humble little painting show? So many. So many. And you can see, even though I'm doing this kind of quickly, when you even have any kind of like tapering of these organic forms, you do kind of get a little bit of that. It has a little bit of special energy to it, you know. I noticed that when I was in the forest, I would see plants and I try and like notice what makes them like look the way they do, and how, you know, if you tried to sculpt a plant, it wouldn't look like it's supposed to look, you know, it would look like some dumb human made it. One of the things I noticed was that kind of like subtle tapering of like the leaves and things like that. So that looks pretty solid. Looks pretty solid. And we got our last suggestion. It's literally perfect, actually. Leon said, a flying crane. Yeah, that is really dope. But I'm going to edit your suggestion because it would be really tight to have a standing bird here in white in the top area of the skull. I knew we were going to put something here. I'm going to edit your suggestion and put it there. Although it would be cool. Maybe we will get like some kind of like bird in the sky over here. I think that's what we'll do, actually. We'll get the bird here. We'll get a bird here in the sky. I wanted to get something left and right here, but if we don't do it, we don't do it. Something about this white and yellow needs to be adjusted, and then maybe we're wrapping it up. Maybe we're not. Let's see. But I love the cranes and the watchful birds. There's something about the watchfulness of the birds. You know, we talked about getting deeper into symbolism and stuff, but I mean, actually, it's funny. We started with the bison skull, talked about the animals, how animals naturally represent things. Something about the predatory birds. Some of them have kind of a unique like flavor, I guess you could say, because the crane's perfect example, because it's like so still, but it's also like a killing machine. It's literally designed to strike at the perfect moment and kill something. So there's something about that, you know. It's not like passive. It's not really a passive animal, but it's kind of is passive in its own way. I like that. I like that. It's not weak. It's still and silent without being like a weak animal. I'm using a brush that's a little bit too big, and I'm wondering if I'm going to regret it or not, but I don't think I am. I come in with the head. You got to get that kind of S shape. And the S shape comes down. Perfect, dude. into, yeah, perfect, into the body. I spent a lot of time in Florida looking at like herons and things like that. That's kind of what they look like. And I pushed him a little bit too much to the right, but it's not a big deal because what I'm going to do is just give him like a huge beak. That'll balance it out. They kind of really do have a beak like that in case you haven't seen birds like this before. Perfect. Oh, dude. It's literally perfect. You gotta get the other foot up though. They stand on one foot in case you haven't seen. There's an Asian legend that the crane was like supposed to watch something overnight and then it fell asleep, so then, and like everything got messed up, so in order to make sure that wouldn't happen again, they stand like this, and the legend is that they hold a rock in this foot over here, so if they fall asleep, it drops the rock and hits their other foot and they wake up. I don't think that's true, but it's kind of cool. We're going to throw another white bird up in the sky over here. This is a little risky because I'm kind of just throwing something up in the sky, but I think it's a good idea. Honestly, I kind of want to just throw in, like, when you see seagulls at the beach really far away with that V shape, but I'm not that confident that it's going to look good. Maybe I should do it, though. Let's just do it. Oh, perfect. Yeah. I like that, actually, because you can't really tell if it's supposed to be something or not. Yeah. Oh, dude. Yes! Wow. I really, truly felt triumphant doing that. Because you can't exactly tell. You're like, oh, are those birds? Are those not birds? Like, I like playing with the ambiguity a little bit. And then just to balance it out a little bit, I just feel like I need a little white right here. We just threw down so much white, I just felt like I needed to do that. I'll throw in a little bit of white over here, too. You can feel the colors kind of balance each other out. Man, this is looking sick. It's looking really sick. Okay. The only thing... I'm feeling like everything is looking really sick, honestly. The only issue that I'm feeling is that the white and yellow over here, it's too close. It's almost a function of the really bright lights. But, you know, if it's that close under the bright lights, then we got to fix it somehow. What am I going to do about that? I could outline it. I could outline these drops. If I outline them, then I have to make them the same size. I don't know exactly what I want to do. Well, I'll make them the same size anyway, as long as we're thinking about it. This will be the last thing we do, probably. Maybe. Let's see. Perfect. Here's the honey color. So I'm going to grab this. You might be able to tell that I'm making it a little bit bigger, but it doesn't really matter. We got the milk and honey. I mean, we could put something in these drops, but that doesn't actually solve the problem. It would be cool. I do like the visual density that we have going on right now. So, the visual density is pretty good. By visual density, I just mean like how densely packed details are. I think we're pretty good on that. I might come in with the subtle underline. Maybe just a little underline right there. Coming around. And you know what I could do? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go for it. Oh, dude. I just perfectly thought of what I'm going to do. This is perfect. I'm going to take this yellow color. Oh, okay. Perfect. Solved the problem. I'm going to take this yellow color. I'm going to throw a little bit. I'm just getting all the brown off this so it looks good. Throw a little bit of the yellow down at the bottom here. So it kind of implies that this light has this like wing colored glow. That'll also bring the wing color in. I kind of noticed the only place the wing color was up there. And again, it looks really dark, but it'll dry later. Perfect. I'm going to bring this yellow over here. Boom. And then what that's going to allow me to do, it also makes the fade more interesting. It's funny, working digitally and using all those fades has kind of bled back to affect my painting. Initially in Photoshop, when I started using gradients, I was thinking of painting gradients that I use. And now when I come back to painting, I want to use more gradients because I use gradients all the time in Photoshop. So it's kind of an interesting illustration of like, if you get into art using different mediums, like they speak to each other. Like when you're doing something with pencil, you maybe pick up something that later when you're using watercolor, you're like, oh, I could use that, or the same way the other way around. If you're doing ink stuff later when you're doing, an oil painting or something, you're like, oh yeah, you pick up like things like that. I always use the music metaphor, but I imagine it's the same way. If you play piano a lot, you probably pick up something that you could use later when you're playing like bass guitar or something. Just like the other way around. And what this is going to allow me to do is I'm going to take this glow color and I'm going to use it as the subtle underline here and see if that can differentiate the drop from the background. Boom. Let's see. This one on the right is wet, so I should wait, but I'm not going to. Because if it bled into it, it actually would look pretty cool. But it didn't. Made it a little too wide, but it's okay. Actually, it looks good. It looks good that it's too wide. I'm going to come back over here and make the same width. Okay. Nice. Okay, that solved that problem. Let's see, now I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the same thing you're looking at. I'm looking at my screen right now. Honestly, it's looking pretty good, man. It's looking pretty good. I'm just wondering if we want to do anything in the well, if I bang my foot, it bangs the camera, sorry. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm like right on the edge. I'm feeling like we could just call it and say, yeah, it looks dope, but, I don't want to end on that kind of note, right? You don't want to end on the note of like, yeah, it looks pretty good, right? I don't know. You know what I'm thinking? I'm looking at the robe color, and I feel like maybe we should get a little more dark red in there. I don't know, man. I'm really torn, honestly. My instinct is telling me to put something in the teardrops, but as I'm looking at the whole picture cohesively, I'm feeling like if I do that, then we're going to mess up the density. It's kind of nice that these are just like in the background. You have like the super details in this kind of like upside down T shape. We didn't give him a mouth. I mean, it would be nice to put something there where his mouth is. That kind of is what we should do technically. I did kind of cop out and not put the mouth in, but I also like not putting the mouth in because it makes him look like silent. It kind of implies like a type of silence, which I think is pretty solid. I could put like a omega over his mouth. I could put like an alpha, like the letter A. What can we put there? I'm looking at this with you right now. The future is undetermined. Oh man, we could do, I could put like a line in here and put in like a sunrise kind of thing. It's a little much though. It's a little much. Could put like a white thing in here, but then I just feel like the balance is so good. I feel like we have such a good balance of things. I don't want to upset the balance that we have going on. Let's look in the book for a second. Let's see. This is an interesting spot we've come to. We've come to an interesting spot. It's like we're almost right there. Oh, dude, nice. There we go. Awesome Ninja 57 said put a flame there. Yeah, exactly, dude. That's exactly what we're going to do. Wow, it's actually the perfect suggestion. There you go. It's funny you said that because I was thinking if we got like a brighter red or a bright color in here or something, it would be a nice like bing little focal point in the center there. But I wasn't sure what to do. But I think we are going to do that. Let's do it. It's a great call. Good job, Awesome Ninja 57. If I could give you some sort of little flair in the chat for the rest of the show, I would, but I can't. And a flame is also a really good call because it will allow us to put a few colors in. So I'll throw in the red, and then we'll get the yellow and the orange, and I think we're probably going to call it after that. And normally, this is just a nice little, I'm not going to use this for anything, so I'm just going to quickly illustrate this here. But one thing I've been differentiating, I always try and like progress my art a little bit, but I always throw in the kind of like wild flames, like a super burning fire, like an all-consuming kind of like, you can feel like the roaring, like, crazy fire. But lately I've been using sometimes just the still flame. And the still flame has kind of like a powerful connotation when it's just, you ever really sat, sounds really stupid, you ever really sat and like done contemplation and just like had a candle around and eventually everything settles and you just have like the perfect still flame and you look at it and it almost looks like it's like not even moving anymore because everything in the room is just so still. That's what I was thinking of. So we're going to use that kind of flame. It's like, poof. I really like this group of artists from the 1900s, early 1900s, called the Symbolists. One thing a guy said about their paintings is that the paintings are all like epically silent. All the paintings are these big like silent moments. I really feel like that's true about their artwork, and I really like that in a way. I'm just going to come in and throw this in. Ugh, what a good call. What a good call. Boom. Perfect. Because it also kind of subtly mirrors the drop shapes. Just perfect. Just the perfect suggestion. All right. Okay. So, and I got all the colors I need right here. I'm going to throw in a little bit of the yellow at the bottom. Although really, if you are in one of those moments and you see the flame like that, the bottom isn't actually really yellow. It's more like white, honestly. But actually, so let's use the white then. And the flames actually in real life have kind of like a negative shape. They have kind of like a, oh, dude, I ruined the color. Hold on. The flames have kind of like a missing dark piece at the bottom. They're almost more like an upside down crescent than they are like the cartoon flame shape. Maybe I'll work that in a little bit. Okay, cool. I'm going to pick up this pale yellow. This is good. This will be good. Perfect. And in the interest of just always trying new things, normally I just do the 3 colors, but I'm going to do 4. I'm going to grab, got the pale yellow, I got the warm yellow. Might need to come back and do the red outline again, but we'll see. Oh, dude, it's literally just such a good call. Such a good call. All right. Grab some orange here. Perfect. Sometimes when you're painting, you really feel that kind of like epic silence, Sometimes you really feel like you kind of puncture beyond time. It sounds really dramatic, probably, but really does feel that way sometimes. Like a purely creative state. It's interesting because one of the things I picked up along the way when I was doing like hardcore esoterica studies and stuff is, oh, something fell. In Hermeticism, which is kind of like a meme in and of itself, honestly. Not in a bad way, it's just kind of what it is. They talk about like, God, and God kind of like leaving the world unfinished, and man like participating in creation, like God intended man to like finish this unfinished creation that he established. So it's almost like God and man aren't like son and father. It's almost they're more like cousins, or more of like a lateral relationship. And at the time I thought that was really, really cool. But if you go far enough into the occult stuff, what you kind of realize is that all the cool stuff is basically like cribbed from like Christianity, honestly. It's my opinion, obviously. And I don't really think that anymore, because it kind of makes it so God made this like unfinished, imperfect world, So now I kind of think that way in a different way, in like a more cohesive way when I think about, what Adam's purpose was in the garden. It says he was there to like tend the garden. So there's this way that we're meant to like participate in creation, but it doesn't imply that like creation is like unfinished or something. But sometimes I feel that way doing art. Not that the art is like divine or something, but like, when you're really into like anything, it could be like, digging a hole even, or like anything, you kind of puncture into this like atemporal space where you really are like participating in like, the way the universe is unfolding in a really cool way. Anyway. Let's see. I'm looking at the same thing you are right now. I'm looking at the screen. Oh, perfect. Oh, you know what we're going to do? This is it. This is how we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to get a little bit of the golden glow around the flame. So perfect. Come on, give me a little bit of the golden glow. Just a little bit. Just a tiny bit. Almost imperceptible is what I want. Just a little tiny bit of the glow. Oh. It's perfect. It's perfect. Cool. Cool. Ha 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 ha. Nice. Yeah, I'm going to say that we're done. We're done. That looks dope. It looks dope. You know, sometimes you gotta let it settle for a second and just see if that's actually how you want to wrap it up. Yeah, I think we're good. Or it's 8:40 right now. Like I care about the time. after what I just explained to you. Or what I just like said how I feel. Yeah, I think we're good on this one, man. I'm kind of looking at it right now, so you know what I'm thinking, and I'm like, oh, you know, it's really interesting because the flame is like really singing out and like exclaiming itself is like different from the rest of the picture, but I actually like that. I actually like that it's doing that. Like part of me is like, oh, do I want to, you know, move around and like kick up some of the colors of the flame elsewhere? Do I? You know, I could take this red and maybe kind of like put it in here a little bit. Yeah, I think I am going to do that. Let's flesh out the red just a tiny bit. We're in really like tweaking hours right now. I don't even know if you'll be able to see this over the black. Just a little bit of the red in here. Yeah, cool. It's almost a little too much. Yeah, that looks sick. I'm just gonna dab this up a little bit. Yeah, so you just want the hint of it. Perfect. Literally perfect. And I almost feel like we could get away with like putting a hint of the flame color in there also. Because if I put a little bit of the orange in, then it's ambiguous if it's like, just the red looks a little like satanic, honestly. If I get some of the orange, it's way too bright, obviously. So I'm going to pick it up with the paper towel. But then it's like, oh, maybe the sunset is like reflecting up into the, there we go, it's perfect. Space of the skull. Picked it up a little bit too much. Almost, come on, come on. Just want a little bit. Yeah. That's good. Cool. Oh, it's not balanced though. Come on, give me the exact opacity that I want. Yeah, that's good. I'm like obsessing over like the tiny details right now, but it's usually the tiny details that make something good or bad. Yeah. You know, I almost want to push the red a little bit. This is really like fine tuning right now, but I almost just want to push this red just a tiny bit. Yeah, that looks tight. I just want to make it the exact perfect brightness. I know this probably seems like a very obsessive detail. I just want to make it the exact. So funny. You do the whole picture in like, you know, however many minutes, and then you probably spend like, you know, however long just tweaking some like stupid detail. Okay, I think we're good. Yeah, that's perfect. Boom. Yeah. All right, let's see how it looks without the painting stuff on the left, and then we're going to wrap this up. I'm just going to quickly move this so we can actually see what's going on. We did not use the Crayola crayons. That'll be an adventure for next time. I'm just really careful putting this down to make sure I don't spill ink everywhere all over the studio. Let's see. Let's move this paper. I'm even going to move the paper. Actually, it looks better with the white paper behind it. Cool. You can really see what you're doing when you kind of clear out the visual space around it. Cool, man. Well, I'm going to say this was definitely successful. Looks really tight. Cool. We did it. We did it. Another successful image made. Nice. And you know what I say literally every time we wrap this up. I always feel like I need to recap, but you were just here. So I don't need to recap what you just saw happen. But last notes, I guess. You know, it's kind of interesting because since we started with the shadow shapey thing, we started with the big dark area. That creates a situation where, you know, if you've seen a lot of my art before, you've watched the show a lot before, we're normally working with like lines. You know, everything that I'm doing is like, here's the line, it's drawing. But when you start with the shadow shape or you use the shadow shapes, it punctures that because the information isn't being communicated with a line, it's being communicated with like a shape. So that kind of just changes it up a little bit. And I feel like that does kind of alter the vibe of it a lot. It let us kind of enter this like other sort of pictorial space. I really like this. If we did this again or we did something like this again, I kind of want to use the chaos a little bit more, like the way you can't really tell if these are like birds or just brush strokes. And even in the flame, you probably can't really see it because, I mean, I could bring the camera down, but the colors are bleeding into each other a little bit. This fade, we could have done more of that, but I like the sparseness. I like the minimalness of it, so I think it turned out really solid. Maybe we'll do more stuff on cardboard. It's a good angle. Spiritual seeker that we've made a picture of. Cool. All right, well, it's 8:45. We're right on time. Not that anyone cares. That's basically it. Thanks for coming through to the Silent Oasis painting hour. It's not what it's called, but we could call it that. And yeah, that's basically it. Soon, probably not too soon. Honestly, it might be like a month or two from now, but I'm going to be in a new studio. So that means I can use my easel, maybe some bigger, like messier tools. I don't know. The future of the show looks bright. The future of the show is looking good. So get excited for that. And I guess next week maybe we'll dive into some scripture and hit some like particular pieces of scripture or something. I kind of want to get back on track to like informational stuff, but I've also enjoyed just using the show as like experimenting and seeing what happens. There's a little bit of alchemy there, you know, in terms of things happening naturally. So we'll continue to press forward on exploring what the future of the show means. Thanks for coming through. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good Easter. Someone said have a good Easter in the chat. Thank you, the Big Tony. I hope you have a good Easter also. Hope everyone has good holy days before them. And now we return. Now we return back to the spiritual battlefield, struggling with our passions, vices, evil forces. This was a nice break, but we're going back to it. We're going back right now. So enjoy that. Thanks for coming through, and I'll see you guys later.